CBC wants to become a digital streaming service. Good. Let's end the subsidy then. Hi, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. In an exclusive interview with the Globe and Mail, CBC's New York-based, or once New York-based CEO Catherine Tate informed the broadsheet for the Laurentian elite that CBC is going to become a digital streaming service. That's where they're headed. She says it so that they can remain relevant. I'd argue the CBC hasn't been relevant in a long time. Very few people watch them. Their shows haven't shown up in the top 30 when Numerish used to publish those lists publicly. Their flagship news program, CBC National, it's the third in a three-horse race with falling ratings that have been plummeting for decades. And yet they continue to get more money from the Trudeau government. All told, it's just about $1.5 billion that they get from the government or different government pools of money, a direct subsidy of $1.2 billion, according to their latest financial audited statements. They get all kinds of other money, like the biggest chunk of the Canadian Media Fund going towards CBC Productions, or the requirement by the CRTC, Canada's broadcast regulator, that every house in Canada that has a cable or satellite service has to pay subscriber fees for CBC specialty networks like CBC News Channel. Yeah, you have to pay for that. And they're not only mandated to be carried by every home, and a portion of your cable bill goes to CBC, but they get preferential rates, about 3 times what their private sector competitor over at CTV gets for the same subscription service. So CBC, by the way, that's about $122 million a year that they're getting from that. So CBC gets preferential treatment all over the place. They get all this money. They've got a head start, and now they're going to use that roughly $1.5 billion not to do what they're mandated to do, provide radio and television services across the country, especially to rural and remote areas. No, they're going to use that money to transform into a digital streaming service. Well, we don't fund Netflix. We don't subsidize them. We don't subsidize Amazon Prime or Disney Plus, nor should we. And we shouldn't be doing the same with CBC. If CBC wants to continue to ignore its mandate, they should see their funding withdrawn. Now, that didn't happen under the Harper Conservatives, despite many calls by people like me for it to happen, at least in some measure. No, didn't happen at all. Under the Trudeau Liberals, they found ways to give more money to the CBC. Every time that you hear about a subsidy to newspapers or television stations, which, by the way, I don't love, I'm not in favor of, but every time those come out, more money goes to CBC as well. So these guys consistently have a giant head start on every other media company in the country. And what do they do with it? They use it to compete in ways that they shouldn't. Even in Britain, the BBC is not allowed to show online ads to people living in Britain anymore on their website. We should be doing something like that. Instead, CBC continues to cannibalize the rest of the media landscape. Eventually, they may be the only one standing at the end. And what good will that do for any of us? Let me know what you think. Is it time to end CBC's subsidy? If they're going to become a digital streaming service, should we be paying for them like a subscriber or continue with this taxpayer-forced funding model? Drop a comment down below, share this on social media, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.